The last time you had a drink, you probably just enjoyed it and moved on. But that simple act is older than writing. It's older than farming. It actually predates the human species entirely. For a long time, the standard story of history followed a very specific sequence. First, we were nomadic hunters. Then we settled down to farm. Building a society was finished. But a series of archaeological discoveries proves that this sequence is completely backward. In 2018, archaeologists began excavating Raqefet Cave in Israel. It was a site used by the Natufian people roughly 13,000 years ago. Inside, they found deep mortars carved directly into the stone of the cave floor. When they analyzed the residue inside those mortars, they found traces of wheat and barley that had been intentionally soaked, germinated, and fermented. It was beer, brewed in a cave 13,000 years ago. The paradox is that the Natufians were nomadic hunter-gatherers. They hadn't invented agriculture yet, and they didn't grow crops. These people were mastering a complex chemical process while they were still wandering. It suggests the desire for alcohol existed long before the first farm was ever planted. To find the root of that desire, we have to move the timeline back 10 million years to the forest floor of ancient Africa. Biologist Robert Dudley calls this the drunken monkey hypothesis. It focuses on how our ancestors survived by finding the most calorie-dense food available. When fruit falls and sits on the ground, yeast gets inside and begins breaking down the sugars. This natural fermentation produces small amounts of ethanol. Early primates that ate this fruit received a massive boost of calories and a rewarding feeling that made them seek it out again. Over millions of years, those who could find and tolerate alcohol had a survival advantage. By the time humans showed up, the drive to find alcohol was hardwired into our biology. It was an evolutionary survival trait, not a modern vice. 12,000 years ago in Turkey, that biological drive led to Göbekli Tepe, a site that defies the rules of history. Hunter-gatherers moved 10-ton stone pillars up a hill, carving them with precision, before they even had permanent homes or pottery. Historians wondered what could possibly motivate nomadic people to organize the massive labor force needed for a project this size. The answer was found in large stone vats at the site, which contained chemical traces of fermented grain. They were brewing here in massive quantities. Göbekli Tepe wasn't a city, it was a gathering place. People traveled from across the region to perform rituals and drink together, long before they lived together. Archaeobotanist Patrick McGovern believes this solves the mystery of why we started farming. He argues we didn't settle down for bread, we did it for beer. The mechanics are revealing. Baking bread is a complex, labor-intensive process, requiring grinding and kneading. Beer is simpler. You soak grain in water, leave it alone, and let fermentation happen. Farming is backbreaking work. The intoxicating social rewards of beer provided a much stronger incentive to endure that labor than simply eating grain in a slightly different form. If McGovern is right, humans didn't build the first farms to secure a food source. We built them to secure a steady supply of alcohol. Once agriculture took hold, brewing became a sophisticated science. By 7000 BCE in China, the village of Jiahu had a precise recipe for a drink made of rice, honey, grapes, and hawthorn berries. In ancient Egypt, beer functioned as the primary energy source for the entire state. The workers who built the pyramids weren't paid in coins. Their actual salary was 4 to 5 liters of beer every single day. This was a practical necessity. The Nile water was often contaminated, but the brewing process made beer safe to drink, while providing the calories needed for heavy labor in the desert. Beer was woven into the civilization's medicine, its religion, and its economy. It was a water filter, a paycheck, and a prayer, all served in the same cup. In the ancient world, beer provided the metabolic energy and social stability needed to maintain an empire. It was the essential infrastructure that kept a massive population alive. From an evolutionary instinct 10 million years ago to the construction of the first monuments and the fueling of empires, the story of alcohol is the story of us. Alcohol did not show up after we built the world we live in. The ancient biological impulse to gather and drink together is quite possibly the single greatest reason human civilization was built at all.